Episode 2, Young Dumb Crypto Show. Here we go.
We are back to answer the question this week of what is money?
The three properties of money, realistically there's other kind of factors, but the main key ones would be a medium of exchange, which is kind of what we talked about, where you can trade something in exchange for something else. A unit of account, meaning you can count it a lot of different ways. And then the most important one is a store of value. We feel like this is a topic that isn't talked about quite enough, and to be honest, when I first started looking into Bitcoin and started to research currencies in general, I realized, I don't really understand how the US dollar works at all. What about you? I know you did a lot of trading and things like that. You probably already had a better understanding, but...
I feel like I've been lucky to have good parents that kind of taught me about money at a young age. But I still only knew fragments, not a total understanding of the whole system, and more on even an international level and history level as well. So we're gonna talk about the 3 properties of money. And the first one is going to be that it is a medium of exchange.
That's just anything of value that you're exchanging for something else, whether it's goods and services, animal skins, beaver pelts, bear fur, things like that. Food, absolutely. So you would trade a beaver pelt in exchange for some food and berries or whatever it was, and that was then an exchange, and the idea of medium exchange was born.
Redskins, dodo heads, tepid lemonade.
Hey mate, I'll take 5 of your Redskins and one of those tepid lemonades.
It's one chicken, mate. It's not a chicken.
No, that's much better than a chicken, my friend. That is gold.
So the second property of money is a unit of account.
Basically what that means, it's a way to measure something of value. So it's something that you can break up. And they actually used to scrape off pieces of the gold and that's one of the reasons they used it, was because it's you can do a partial payment.
Sticking with the gold example, you can have 1 ounce of gold, you can have 2 ounces of gold, because they did it by weight, and the more weight you had, the more value it had. So it could very easily be counted and measured, and as it increased, it was easy to tell how much you had and how much it was worth.
And it has to be something that's accepted by the entire community that's using it.
Which then brings us to the third property of money, which is a store of value.
Right.
And that's one where gold over time has actually performed better than almost anything.
It takes a lot of work to get it out of the ground. So back then it took a lot of work, and now it takes a lot of work because there's less of it. You have to have expensive machinery to pull it out. If you ever watch that show Gold Rush or anything like that, these guys spend a ton of money in order to get some gold out. Sometimes they don't even break even. It's crazy. So we've been talking about gold a lot. It has a lot of these qualities that we talked about, the 3 principles. And so it's easy to identify. It's shiny. It's pretty. Who doesn't love gold?
I love gold.
I hope you were gonna do that.
I love gold.
It's portable, so you could fit it in your pocket. It's durable.
If your house burns down, your gold's still gonna be there. It'll melt, but you have gold bars?
Maybe I do have some gold. Anyways, it's divisible, so you could break it up into multiple pieces: 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 10 ounce.
Gold really started to take the function of money is when people started to mint it into coins, and then you had that unit of account where 1 gold coin weighed the same as another gold coin, so they were minted to be the exact same weight. So
talk about convenience.
And now you don't have to sit there and you don't have to have a scale. You just know, okay, 13 of these is greater than 10. Important to note that no one government chose precious metals realistically for our currency. They just took on that shape because they had all those properties he mentioned the best. So whether you were a king in Babylon or a king somewhere else, everybody was using precious metals, and they were all making them into coins of equal weight that could be exchanged. But no one government said, we're using gold as our currency.
There wasn't just one dictator that said, everyone must use this. No, it was picked because it was actually usable.
And as time went on, governments and things like that started to make what they call a representative currency, and that was essentially a promissory note where you would either deposit gold into their vaults or they had gold in their vaults, and they would make a representative currency that was tied to the amount of gold they had. So like $1, you should in theory be able to exchange for $1 worth of gold.
I'm signing a piece of paper that says, I promise that you will receive this much gold
In exchange
for this amount of dollars.
Because basically what started to happen as time went on and prosperity grew, you're not going to walk around with 100 pounds of gold on your back all the time.
You're gonna get robbed.
Yeah, well, you just don't. It's just inconvenient. It's too much weight. It's too heavy. So they made these paper bills that were easy to carry, easy to exchange, but they represented the store of value, which was gold.
In a more modern time, some stuff that you guys might remember, we went through like the Great Depression. We had World War I, World War II, and then things really started to change.
Basically, after World War II, all these world leaders came together for a big financial conference or summit, so to speak, where they decided, based on the fact that the U.S. was the most prosperous country and we're really entering our golden age, no pun intended, and most of the world's gold was actually in U.S. vaults.
Right.
They decided it would be best to tie all the world's currency to the dollar at a fixed rate, and then the dollar was going to be tied or backed by gold at a rate of $35 an ounce. So effectively, they were tying all the world's currencies to gold through the dollar. So if every currency was matched to the dollar and the dollar was backed by gold, in theory, all currencies would be backed by gold.
Yeah, in theory.
So this was the idea, and it worked for a while, probably about 25 years, until something started to happen where a lot of the world leaders started to look at all these dollars that were in circulation and started to question how much gold did the U.S. really have in their vaults. I mean, they knew what we had before, they knew what they had, and everything was supposed to be at $35 an ounce, and they're saying, okay, all these dollars are flying around, do you guys really have this much gold? Prove it.
This tends to happen all the time with governments because it's much easier to just print more money over and over and over again when they need it. And it's just, it just happens over time. And this has happened in history several times. It's not just the U.S. government, it's over and over and over again. It keeps repeating itself.
Yeah, I think one of the most dramatic examples would be Venezuela recently.
And that is something that I recently really looked into, and we might even do another video just on that.
It's crazy.
But just a basic example is in the last year, they have had 43,000% inflation.
What?
That just sounds like a crazy number, but let's say you wanted to go buy something for $1. A year ago, you could go buy a double cheeseburger for $1. Now, you would need $43,000 to buy that same cheeseburger. There has been crisis, there's been food problems, there's been revolts, there's been
riots,
and it's corrupt government.
It's worthless. It is worthless money. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. It's crazy. So basically, what started to happen in the 1970s, or I guess late 1960s, early 1970s, people started to question, do you guys really have that much gold in your vault? There's a lot of these dollars flying around, and after being pressured over time, the U.S. President Richard Nixon had to call an emergency press conference and made an announcement that effectively changed the entire financial system as we know it.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
In that one move, fiat currency was born, which is basically a currency that is backed by nothing, is backed by
power,
backed by force, essentially. And that's probably another topic for another time.
We have talked about a lot today, and there's still more to come. So next week, we are going to be talking about what is fiat.
Scary stuff. Scary stuff.
Very scary, but it's how our current system is working, so we can't ignore it. We have to, see what's going on in this modern day and how we're using money.
We know what the three properties are. We compare our current system, the fiat currency, to Bitcoin and see which one you guys think makes more sense to you.
Yep.
And that's what we did.
Only you can decide.
If we said anything wrong, let us know. We'll try to correct it or just share it with everybody. But, we're here to help, and we'll see you next week.
See you then.
Yeah, we're just young, dumb, and broke, but we still got love to give while we're young, dumb.